All right.
Okay. Thank you, Alicia. So I know we're a couple minutes behind. This is the work session for the planning board meeting for today, June 23rd. I know we have a couple applications on the agenda. Both historic reviews for roof replacement and a roof repair.
Yes, we do. And so these two, it's 117 Court Street and 116 Court Street. So these properties, they came in very close in time sequence. But they're completely different structures, but essentially across the street from one another to the corner. And within the Court Street Historic District. And for the first 117 Court Street is essentially a replacement for the primary structure and the accessory garage. And that would be to replace existing asphalt shingles with in-kind like for like shingles. In addition to that, within the methods of the replacement and materials being used, the applicant did indicate that they wanted to remove the chimney. And so take the chimney out, fill the whole roof over it. At the same time that they're performing the re-roofing work. We did hear back from SHPO right before our last meeting, the day of our last meeting being scheduled. While the chimney wasn't called out on the nomination form as a contributing detail to the historic character, SHPO has recognized it as such and he's requested that it be repaired and kept in place.
Do they know that?
They do not. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to communicate that out to them.
That's okay.
So then
This is the job that's already done.
Jeremy Ward
Yeah.
or Jeremiah Ward.
Jeremiah Ward 117.
I wasn't aware that.
Yeah, that's the. I'm probably not sure when they first applied, but building inspector brought it up. I believe it's all done.
Okay.
Okay, we'll find out.
Okay.
Can you repeat that part about SHPO's response?
Yes, and you have a copy of the SHPO letter at the very back of this packet. So verbatim, they said that the chimney is a character defining element of the historic house and should be maintained. If necessary, the chimney should be repointed, capped, and appropriately flashed at the roof line. So they didn't really mince their words. They have no concerns with the proposed roof replacement otherwise. And let's see, there is a copy of the nomination form also, a couple of pages before that. It's this blue sheet. And on the form, the angle that the photo is taken of the house, there's no evidence of the chimney and there's no indication on the form that the chimney that it is in existence or that it's a contributing detail.
Wouldn't
be visible from
Now,
that
with
angle.
the-
Yeah.
With the two photos that are in our packet, when were those taken in relationship to the application?
It's assumed that they were taken fairly recently.
So in those photos, there is a chimney,
Agreed.
so they. Took the photo sometime just before the work was done, but then included it with the application,
I think maybe,
potentially,
yeah,
Okay.
not positive.
okay.
So they had submitted. So we think they submitted the photos and then completed the job sometime in that time. And they were flagged by the building inspector.
I'm trying to
Or having
remember what
completed it?
stage they were at. I don't know if they were just about done or done.
Okay.
I didn't recall that they had completed the work,
Yeah.
so maybe that information just came into you.
Okay.
Um,
Now, when he first came, no, when they first came, they came up and. In fact, so he was the only one on the agenda the last, remember I was saying, oh, well, it's already done anyway, so. But I don't know if they were all the way done by the time building inspector flagged it, or if they were. But they were already into it, I know. Sure, what stage?
and we had. This isn't a typical application that we would receive comments about. The building inspectors on one way or another.
They work without permit.
Had to have because they can't get their permit until they go through the historic site review.
It-
Yeah.
I knew the answer.
Yeah.
My question being, did the homeowner do the work himself or did he hire?
I believe we have estimates on file
Or
and the estimate on file, so.
this looks like it was done by Thomas Construction. At least for the estimate.
I'd be curious, as a comment from the building inspector's office, if the contractor had been ticketed for working without a permit. So often, it's easy and convenient to attack a property owner. Where all contractors, and
Yes.
think about the verification process where. If somebody would have gotten hurt, that contractor is the one carrying the insurance that covers these workers in that property. So the double jeopardy is that the property owner not only is going to be responsible for the work, but also responsible for the people that are working on the property. That's a scary thought and it bothers me. Because most people do get permits. Fortunately, we're seeing many people that are getting violated after the infraction's been committed. And that holding of the liability really is the responsibility of that contractor.
Mhm.
We don't know if they're registered. We don't know if they're insured. If you follow the process, the verification is done by the city.
Right. And that would be overseen by the building inspector's office and not something that I would necessarily be privy to.
I think maybe a conversation with Joe would be appropriate if that, the circumstance like this that we're seeing. It's already happened and no other action, even though a violation's been committed. I think it's appropriate to, for the protection of that property owner, that we at least make note of it.
To advocate that the contractor is fine.
Well, or so that if we're going to adhere to a process, then the process that includes penalty, it's not up to us to impose a penalty. But somehow the infraction has to be dealt with, because if I recall correctly, this is like the third or fourth one this year that we've seen. Right across the street, we saw another one after the fact. They come in and, oh yeah, the work's all done. Great, we hope nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and at some point, we have to step up and say, you know, who are we protecting here?
So the one thing I will say in the past is I can think of at least one application, I believe it was on Brinkerhoff, where this board made a decision that once it came to us after the fact, we just rendered no decision.
Yeah.
It wasn't our, we decided that we should not be making a decision on an application after the fact, the work is done, are we going to be the enforcement board and say, no? You know what I mean? I guess you could, but where does that leave? Where does that leave this applicant?
Yeah.
Where does that leave the city? Does that mean it goes back to the building department and they now do an enforcement action for a roof that we didn't approve?
No,
And
exactly.
we as a board decided we were just gonna leave the application in limbo. It's gonna be a no action application. Gonna vote on it.
Yeah, and I hear what you guys are saying, because you don't want to have a lot of those stack up on you, because then you're inadvertently sending a message that, you can kind of do this, and is not really going to be any consequences for you. So if it's a one-off for a homeowner who didn't know, maybe the contractor didn't know either, these guys are Adam Malone. I don't know if they know the process, if they work with the city very much. It's different for a one-off versus multiple violation. And yeah, you hate to penalize a homeowner for something like that. Have somebody come in and tell them that they think they're doing everything right, and then say, well, they got to go back and undo their work now. And, you guys have to sort that out amongst yourselves.
I mean, in this one, I will say, unless I'm misunderstanding it or something's done different. I mean, we have an actual recommendation from SHPO that the chimney is to stay. Now,
Yeah.
if they remove the chimney, we would probably, I mean, I haven't seen it as a board where we've gone against a SHPO recommendation, so.
That was gonna be my question, is if we've done that or not. The timing is not great for that either, because these guys had applied last month, right? And they were gonna come before us. The SHPO had not gotten back to us until this week,
No, they got back to us the day of last month's. plan.
prior to last month's meeting. Okay, all right, I
The
misunderstood
applicant
that part.
couldn't make it,
Okay.
right?
And
Okay.
the applicants weren't, they had a schedule.
Okay, so they would have heard about that prior to doing it, so I guess it's worth digging into the timing of.
I think the work's done. This invoice is from September 2024, and they gave him a $9,000 deposit in March.
Well, that's a quote.
Yeah, but then it says deposit of $9,000
Right.
in March. So I feel like it's probably done.
And his application was dated in April, and I believe April 9th. So I think,
Or maybe not then. Yeah, we'll see.
I think he said that it was pretty much all done or in.
So if it's all done, how are we gonna handle that? And the chimney's gone.
That's what we're talking about.
In my opinion, again, I can't think of an application where we've requested SHPO with guidance and went against that, and if that means that the application has to be approved, maintaining the chimney and repointing, then it goes back to the applicant accordingly. Now, how the city enforces that, I don't know.
So our decision will be that they need to put the chimney back on.
That's it, no, that's just my
Just-
opinion.
All right, yeah.
As far as the
If-
red.
Yeah,
what the
Let's
board
have a
decides.
to mention to that, though. If this document is the document that SHPO's based that decision on, it's not identified.
With
All
it,
they did is they saw it in a picture.
SHPO doesn't just base their decision on that document, but that is the basis of a property being added to the register.
Yeah.
And records what the historic character is, but so they base their decision on all elements presented to them. They weren't aware that the work had been done either.
Well, what did SHPO see to make their determination? And the reason I'm asking this question this is a 1979 survey of a house that at the time was 100 years old.
Right,
So. Are they telling us that that's an original feature of the house that made it the architectural significantly value?
So real quick, Rick, in their material. It says, we note that 117 Court Street is a contributing resource to the Court Street Historic District listed in the state and National Register of Historic Places. We have reviewed the project information submitted to our office on April 21st, 2025. Based on this review, we have the following comments. So whatever application material that was submitted on April 21st was evaluated.
so we submit as full of the application as we possibly can, so. And Barb provides those submittals to SHPO, so they received the application, the narrative. The photos, I forget what else you,
Chimneys part.
The spec sheet,
the spec sheet.
desk and
The chimney is in one of the photos. That we received in the application and was added to the request for SHPO consultation.
So I'll ask this question again. What does that picture show
Well,
that categorizes that chimney as a significant architectural feature of the house?
I don't,
I don't know that it does, but I think what they typically, like historic boards and SHPO, like they usually say. If it's an element of the house, like I've seen in other historic districts where they would require a homeowner to rebuild a chimney, even if they were electrifying the house completely.
Right.
You know, so they just say, hey, it's an old house, it's an old roof, all the houses had chimneys, all your neighbors' houses have chimneys, so everybody has to keep their chimney because it's of the time and place.
Yeah.
From when it was built, so that seems like that.
The other thing that could be done. In this case, if this is the first time that the property owner or the applicant is seeing this letter from SHPO. The board could allow the applicant to have a pause on their application consideration and let them coordinate with SHPO directly if they're looking for a
Yeah.
different determination.
My, I guess what
Like that.
really bothers me, and I agree with that.
That,
by
I
the
mean,
way,
that's.
but it takes it out of our court into theirs. The role of the planning board is to protect what? The process, the applicants, the participants? What protective role are we taking in making an action like this? And that's just an open question, you know, because nothing that we have says that it's historic, other than we have a picture of an old house that appears to be somewhat original, but we can't verify it. Neither can SHPO from what they have.
Yeah.
and
And
another,
that's, doesn't answer the question.
another element that the board may want to look at and open up conversation with the applicant is there anything internally, is there still an attachment to this chimney? Are there additional internal members? Is there a fireplace still existing? Or is this just the remainder of that heating system? Many houses internally have taken out wood burning stoves. I don't know what the situation in this house is. It is broken into two different apartments.
Real quickly, I know I'm sorry.
Sure.
I know we have 5 minutes left to get to the second one. The only question I have here, is there a place in this application where they say they want to remove the chimney?
In
Yeah.
the narrative, I think it lives in the narrative where they discuss the methods.
Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
Apologize.
And that's why I missed it. I completely missed it until the SHPO letter came in and I was like, oh. Okay,
Okay, so that, I
Yeah.
just wanted to see why SHPO tags that as their first
Yeah.
comment.
yeah,
That's, okay.
and then I could see from a SHPO perspective that these types of brick chimneys go along with the period of the times
Right.
and we're defining features of roofs at the time. But it would come down to the board determination or and discussion.
So second application. Is. A repair. An existing roof.
The second application.
Second.
Okay, second application is 116 Fort Street. This has. It's a unique property in that, I don't have all of this memorized. It is a residential hospital. It has a mansard roof and a series of flat roofs. So they're proposing essentially roof repairs on, I think it's 4,200 square feet of, the flat roof systems. And then on approximately 2,000 square feet or 20 squares, they're proposing to watch and recoat the existing metal roof system. So on one of the wings, there is metal roof system, in a gable roof system. So they're using 60 mil membrane. They will mechanically install it. And then provide metal edging. To further secure it in place. So the majority of work you won't be seeing from the street. You won't be able to see the membranes on the metal roofs or on the flat roof systems. And then the metal roof system will just be essentially refurbishing that. SHPO had no issue with, no concerns with the application. It's fairly straightforward.
Okay.
Any questions?
Think so.
This is 116, yeah? So they talk about, there's a recommendation from SHPO about using a different roofing material on the mansard roof.
I think that's if and when that becomes.
And that was not part of this property, is that like
It-
part of this work?
If there was additional work to be done on
Okay.
the siding
Okay,
that kind of trims it.
I see, okay,
That's if it was to be done, not that it's
Yes.
proposed as the application, but if
Yeah.
there's an opportunity that it was done, that it
Okay.
be corrected at that.
Yes.
That's the way I understood that, but
yeah, and I guess so they're saying it's essentially out of balance of the work that's being done at this time.
that's the way I understood it.
They would, yeah, but if that kind of work was going to be done in the future or incorporated into this project.
Yeah.
They request that, historic materials we use.
Got it.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
So anybody in the board have any other questions before the regular meeting?
You did receive staff reports on each one of these, and then there are double resolutions essentially for both of these. And everything is almost identical. But different.
And we can
Um,
talk about any other business at the end of the regular meeting.
Yeah. And it looks like Jeremiah.
Mhm.
Jeremiah is here with us. Our second applicant is not here yet.
Okay,
So, but hopefully, will be here in time
okay.
then.
We do have 2 more minutes. I guess the board can consider if the other applicant does not show, you know, in the past, we have requested that applicants be present for the meeting,
Mhm.
or we'll have to decide on that if and when. For the second application.
Our computer times are off. It's
Are
actually,
they?
it's 6:02.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
okay,
my computer upstairs is like 9 minutes off, but this one's off by 3
Okay.
minutes.
in that case, we'll go by,
It's real time.
so it is 6:02. We still recording?
So
Okay, then, call the meeting to order, planning board meeting for Monday, June 23rd, 2025. If we can all rise for the pledge of allegiance. The pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jim Abdallah,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Emily Reinhardt,
yes.
Tom Cosgrove,
Yes.
Carly Leary.
Thank you. So we have two applications tonight. We'll start off with the first application, planning board application 25-03. And this is for historic site review for 117 Court Street roof replacement for 2025.
There presentations for both of the applications. Starting with 117 Court Street. The request, it's a historic site review. The request is to replace an existing asphalt shingle roof on the primary structure with an in-kind asphalt shingle roof. The real property that is listed as a contributing historic structure on the National Register for the Court Street Historic District located at 117 Court Street. The parcel is zoned RH. The applicant is and property owner is here and plan preparers here with us this evening. Jeremiah Ward. Here is an overview from the county interactive GIS mapping systems to show the parcel location on 4th Street. Here's a zoning overlay that is well within the RH and surrounded by the residential historic district. Photos of the existing building frontage of the property. Two different vantage points, so you do see an attached garage or detached garage in the rear of the property. Applicant states that the roof has started to deteriorate and now needs to be replaced to avoid significant damage to the interior and structure. Construction is estimated to take 1 week. Here is an overview. Not all of these photos came out the best in transferring them around, but they're to provide examples of the areas of deterioration and need for replacement. So some of the shingles are peeled up, there's moss growing, I think there's little vegetation growing out as well. And then a snapshot of the ventilation system and the assessment of the entire roofing system. So providing an argument for the need for replacement. And then additional photos to show this was the best photo we could get for the garage in the rear. That will also receive replacement materials. And then the chimney that has come up in the SHPO review comments. Proposed replacement materials and methods, so true definition, duration, shingles, with the colors here are gray chosen. Removal and disposal of the old shingles, removal and disposal of deteriorating brick, chimney to minimize potential for leaks, install synthetic paper as substrate, install new Sierra gray color, only supporting tree definitions or duration asphalt shingles. Also include ice and water shield in all valleys and bottom of the roof, and install new wide face white drip edge. And new rubber roof hoops. The historical significance, the structure was built about 1895, the time of the nomination. The structure was in excellent condition and provided an example of extreme restraint, demonstration of the Queen style of architecture. The roofing material and the chimney were not noted on the nomination form. And then I apologize, I left off no features. The two comments ended up getting married together. Additional notable features are called out. The SHPO nomination form that the board has. Which include molded cornices, returns on gable ends connected by bullseye panel decoration. Gable ends porches have vertical boarding and cut out applied woodwork. Gable ends are decorated with scallop shingles and stained glass windows in west elevation. And then this SHPO recommended that the chimney has historical significance. So again, these three notes come directly from the SHPO comment letter, stating that the chimney is a character defining element of the historic house and should be maintained if necessary. It should be 3-pointed, capped, and appropriately flashed at the roof line. And otherwise, SHPO does not have any other issues with the proposed roof replacement. Do note that since this building is on the National Register, that the owners also have the option to explore the historic homeowner rehabilitation tax credit. So there is a web address and information to reach out if the owners would like to pursue an application and try to get a tax credit for some of this work. Evaluation of precedent. There are two applications I pulled out. 23-04 for 102 Bridge Street is a similar application for an in-kind replacement of an existing asphalt roof and was approved by the planning board in August 2023. And then application 24-03 for 33 Hamilton Street is a similar application. Again, from existing asphalt roof on primary and accessory structures and was approved by the planning board in 2023. I did not have any examples of a proposed removal of chimney and where the planning board has approved that or otherwise. Summary of review comments. We did not receive any comments or concerns from internal departments or our bill out to the 911 addressing coordinator. The applicable USDOI standard would be rehabilitation, which was identified and with the rehabilitation standards of 2, 3, 5, and 6 appearing to be the most applicable, and would appear to be satisfied if the chimney is preserved according to SHPO preference. And then I have a detailed evaluation that I'm happy to go through.
I think is the board good with where we are at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all I have for this presentation. And let you, wait,
Okay. Mr. Ward, you have the the podium. Yeah, any other items to offer in regards to the application or as the information presented?
I thought it was well summarized. I, sorry. Is that needed for the YouTube or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't really think of anything significant to add, but for, I believe, the next door property, 115 Court Street, they had a chimney removed and went through the SHPO process for much more substantial renovations and improvements. Because their chimney was falling over. Ours less so, but I think there is precedent to look at. But other than that, I can't think of anything to add unless there's questions.
So I guess we can, questions the board has in regards to the application?
I had a question on how you got here. You hired a contractor to do work. Had the contractor applied for a building permit prior to your signing a contract with them? And at any point within the process, did he apply to do this work?
My understanding is yes, and it was the building enforcement office that eventually got a hold of him and then me
Okay.
about the need for SHPO review and this process.
Okay, did he actually start the work prior to the issuance?
Yeah, he did start some of the like demo work.
With regard to the chimney, there's some dialogue in here about work on the chimney, having it off, sealing the roof over. Had that work been completed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
When was that completed out of curiosity? Was it after, basically, did they come in, do the work for a week and then find out that the building inspector sort of found out about it? Just curious about the timeline. Not for your own sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not like
Yes,
on
sir.
trial.
Just
No,
trying to figure out the timeline internally.
to be perfectly honest, the project was 60% done.
Sure.
When I got a phone call from the contractor who had spoken with,
Someone at the city.
someone at the
Yeah.
city, and instantly went down
Got it.
and intended to the paper. Yeah.
March, April.
It was April.
Somewhere in there. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. Your roof is leaking. You just want it fixed.
Yep.
Totally get it. Okay.
I know it's not ideal. It's funny because I do this for a living, like,
I get
but
it.
not for individual residential
Yeah.
projects.
No, I get it.
With respect to the chimney, you heard SHPO's interpretation, you probably read it yourself.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts? Do you want to still continue to roof over that space, or do you have any issue with rebuilding the chimney as SHPO thinks it should be?
I would hope to not have to do that. I feel like the benefits of removing the chimney is like it reduces points of failure. You can flash around a chimney, but it's just much more complex than just putting a plane over where the chimney was. And I just feel like operations and maintenance wise, that's the more logical approach, and like it doesn't affect the form factor of the house too much, in my opinion. The fact that it wasn't, I don't think it was noted in the original record back in the 80s when the district was created. And the precedent of the next door property, 115 Court Street, I would hope would be enough, but that's,
Fireplaces inside the home, are those all removed or are they sort of there because they're historic looking? Or is there, was it part of an old heating system like fireplaces, or was it part of an old boiler in the basement? Like, is it
We're
all
pretty-
capped off everywhere?
yeah, we're pretty sure it was like a coal powered fireplace, and we
Okay.
actually inside of our house uncovered a wall that was sheetrocked over and like brought that like fireplace back to life, and we love it. It's just, yeah, it doesn't,
It's not in use.
it's not in use.
Yeah, exactly.
Have there been measures to disallow the use for it at the fireplace itself? Is it sealed off on the inside of the flue?
Then I think it was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there was still an opening, and actually the tree that overhangs onto the roof would like occasionally like, you know, make its way like little needles, pine needles into our chimney. So we could have capped and done measures like that, but I think the ideal long-term solution to preserve the integrity of the home is to remove those points of failures, because the heating element of that chimney is not needed.
Yeah.
My fear is that if the chimney is required to be put back in place, that you should take additional measures to make sure that nothing's gonna be burned in there.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, if you rebuild a chimney and you look outside and say, well, there's a chimney and there's a fireplace here, but never the two shall meet.
Yeah.
I get it.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? So. Under normal circumstances and past applications where, well, I'll start out even without SHPO guidance. Typically, if it's not in kind renovation, the board has made some pretty formal decisions on changing any kind of character, whether it be a chimney or windows. Windows are a common one. Siding. With that said, in this case, we also have a SHPO letter. That, based on the application submitted, which includes the past. The historical forms that the
Right.
city had produced. They also made a determination that the chimney is a character defining element of the historic house. So, you got the form, which doesn't mention the chimney, but then you got the application that shows the chimney, and SHPO made a determination. The board in the past, and I'm only one member here, but the board in the past would have typically looked at a chimney of that nature, and then without further detailing, significant deterioration and overall plan that almost necessitates it removal. Probably would have made a similar determination to what SHPO did here. With that said, I do believe with past applicants, we have, allowed for the applicant, once a determination like this was made, to perform their own due diligence and correspondence with SHPO to see if there is sufficient information that you could provide to maybe gather a different determination. That
Yeah.
sound like so once again, I think the options are the board considers the application as presented with all the information, and the board can determine what you feel. We all can, but I am indicating what a normal
Right.
decision would involve. Or, you can request for the application to be the appropriate tabled, or the appropriate holding on a decision. As,
Or you can post.
or
essentially postpone.
postpone
Yeah.
for you to further explore this chimney determination. And I believe I guess that's the question. Or
Is it a recommendation or a?
Those are the two options I see. If anybody else from the board sees other options, and
No, I mean, Jim said it right. Leveling with you, the SHPO letter ties the board's hands, essentially.
Mhm.
This board has not gone against SHPO in the past, and so if the board were to vote on this, board would be voting with the SHPO letter to. I'll speak, I can only speak for myself, but precedent has been that they would go with whatever the SHPO recommendation is. You're in a tough spot because the work has already been done. So Jim's recommendations are two twofold, I guess. One is to work directly with SHPO. Your point being that the original application from the 70s does not state that the chimney or the roof are a contributing factor to the house. So more likely than not, what SHPO would be looking at is saying all of the exterior of the house writ large is part of the contributing factor to it. So if all of your neighbors' houses had chimneys, your house would have had a chimney. And so keeping that look of the historic neighborhood, the chimney is an important part of that, whether it's in use or not. So that's sort of the general guidance of kind of historic preservation places. The other recommendation would be essentially to, withdraw or hold a vote, or, to hold off on a vote for something like this, because it would be likely something that you would have to continue to work with SHPO on to adjust and maybe, what's the word that I'm looking for on this? Sort of like adjust the ruling or sort of reconsider. Yeah, have them reconsider and maybe put a different case forward for it to say, if the neighboring house has had it rehabbed and done it in kind and removed a chimney, could that be, again, Alicia said that was looked at and she didn't find it. We would have to look at it again, and we might have to re-review it.
I'll give you the other side of the argument, the way that I see it.
Yeah.
Because we took a 1979 inventory sheet that identified significant architectural features. The chimney was not identified in
Right.
there. Yeah, it may be consistent amongst other homes. And then we say it's significant because we have a 2025 picture that says, hey, that looks like it could be original. To me, they haven't substantiated their argument or their position. Is it a time period where the chimney would have been predominant? And did it serve a functional use? We can surmise that it did.
Right.
But can they substantiate that
We don't know.
chimneys does have an architectural characteristic that is significant to the historic character of the building? That's where I have a problem with it. Just because they say it, and I know they don't have on their own the authority to do anything other than remove your federal financing for your house, which I'm sure there's not any. So they designate their authority to bodies such as this that do have authoritative jurisdiction to go back and say, no, you have to do it or you're breaking the city rules. I don't buy that at all, okay? And I enforce those rules for 25 years. So I look at it slightly different. Because if you're gonna make a claim and you're gonna make people expend additional funds, you should substantiate your position. I don't see where SHPO did that. I had a 500 window property that I came before the board. And the recommendation was go to a SHPO consultant. And we just wanted to replace windows with a like kind window. They said, use the original materials. Well, when they're rotted and you have single pane glass, there's no energy efficiency. There's no structural character to that material. So there are things that they can have an opinion on that can be substantiated, nor can they prove the benefit to any historic significance or structural character of a property. Just my 2 cents.
Those are appreciated 2 cents for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
if we're gonna give you an argument or a discussion, it should be thorough and complete.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what Tom and I are doing. We're showing 2 sides of an issue that, ultimately it'll be up to you. If you want to challenge their interpretation, as Jim said, we can postpone this meeting and.
I guess, yeah, I mean, if it's a matter of, like, I came into this meeting seeing that SHPO response and I was willing to part ways with that 20% tax credit.
Sure.
I can, That's my fault. I'll part ways with that. What I want to avoid doing is having to pay money to go back and install a chimney. So whatever seems like the most realistic path. Like I'm willing to talk to SHPO and try, if you think there is like a possible path there that I'm willing to do that, but yeah.
So the picture that you submitted. Does the property right next door to you? They have a much higher but similar shaped chimney. Is that the one you're talking about has been removed?
No, it was more located towards the front, more prominent, closer to Court Street. I'm pretty sure
On the same house or
on the same house.
on the same house?
That chimney back there, I think, was taken down as well, though.
That chimney was taken down
Yeah.
also. Under the application here.
Yeah, because it was part of I would assume it was part of the same proposal to put a synthetic slate roof and do substantial, complete rehabilitation to the exterior.
Is this on the corner?
Yeah, it's the one on
Court
the,
Street.
the one in the corner, yeah. The large one that was the Adirondack Theater Group previously.
Yeah.
Previously.
Yeah. We've seen them.
Okay. Well. Again, I'm one person on the board. My thought is that we get this, we give. The applicant the opportunity to go back to SHPO and discuss this further based on, again, stuff that's not necessarily in the application today. Condition of the chimney, The.
Assumed age of the
Non-use.
chimney, not use. I mean, maybe your saving grace there is if 115 had it, because they are also doing a replace in kind. So if you had asphalt shingles and a chimney, they had slate roof and a chimney, which is why they went to the synthetic slate. That could be an argument as well if you're saying, hey, they've been able to remove this. But I don't remember if that house is trying to rebuild it or not. But I don't know if that's relevant. So.
But then also, discussion of other areas, how you're.
Yeah.
Matching up with I guess adjacent neighbors who don't have chimneys now. That'd be my personal thought. I don't know about the rest of the board.
And you only had the one chimney in the front, not a second one in the back or anything?
There was a second one.
There was two.
Yeah.
Were they both removed?
Mhm.
So is it up to you?
It'd be up
If you-
to the applicant.
It's
If you would like to have us vote or not vote?
Oh, man.
I also probably not vote against the SHPO recommendation, so.
Okay, then I guess I'll go the ship.
Because we don't want to set precedent of voting against SHPO.
Yeah,
And Jim, do you wanna let him know what the process would be if you all voted against it moving forward?
So if we voted against it forward. That would go as a no vote. To the building department. Which would then. Be responsible for whatever the appropriate enforcement is.
But as with any determination, the determination is appealable. Right? So,
Yes.
but it's all up to.
It wouldn't end necessarily
That's
tonight.
part of the process.
Yeah.
So if the board voted no and we informed the building inspector's office and provided you direction on how to move and as potentially putting the chimneys back and adhering to the SHPO comments. And you didn't agree with that, there would be a process for you to appeal this board's decision. Not that I'm encouraging that, but I think it's important for all applicants to fully understand what the due process is.
And an appeal might involve, for example, saying that you're working with SHPO on an alternate or challenging that designation, for example.
That appeal would go to the zoning board.
CBA.
so you would go to a different board.
Hmm.
And have additional review fees.
Additional review applications, so.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which there's no guarantee that if you appeal, that would be granted either. But it's an opportunity.
I'll pass on the vote, I guess. Yeah,
yeah.
try to see what I can do.
Yeah, so in this case, there's no motion necessary.
You would need to, if you're tabling it, it would be a motion to table.
But do we want a table? What happened last time we tabled?
Table
Decision.
decision.
We had talked about postpone in the pre-meeting.
But
I don't know if that's the-
postponing, and then when the applicant comes back, then
It's still open, right? Is that the difference
Well-
between them or?
Keep it open. And we have not held a public hearing on this. No.
Okay.
Just as a reminder.
Because if we table it, we only have X amount of time to take it off the table. That's what happened last time, remember?
correct.
And I don't know how long his
60
community,
days, 90 days,
I don't know how long it's gonna take him
62 days, okay.
Like I said, last time, that was the exact problem, we tabled it, and then we have so much time before you have to take it off the table and they have it turned,
Yeah,
you vote on
Okay,
yeah.
it, right?
sure.
Or the decision becomes a automatic after
Yeah.
62 days.
You don't need to worry about this
Okay.
part.
Rules of order.
We're just trying to figure out the right way to do it.
If
Okay,
So just postpone.
so just postpone, which is the no. The
Make a motion.
or a vote at this point.
And postpone until Mr. Ward has received additional communication.
Return with additional information.
And all this should be going to Barb. Barb,
Does that sound?
Say it again,
Right.
because I was kind of getting confused on whether we need to do, we don't do the seeker or anything now. What did you say?
We're gonna postpone
And
any
just no vote.
further application until the additional information is provided by the applicant,
Okay,
which
Yeah.
is.
I've never done that before, so I'll just have to ask you how to.
Yeah.
Put that on.
it's just verbatim as Jim is stating.
And if the board want to formalize it, we technically could keep the application incomplete. Till further information is provided. That would be fair. So I guess that's one way of doing it, instead of leaving it sort of open. You had a motion deeming the application incomplete, subject to additional information from the applicant and coordination.
Yeah. Yeah, I can make a motion. We'll postpone the review of the application pending the applicant's follow-up with SHPO
Due to it being.
thank you, due to the application being incomplete at this time.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Tom and Rick Mary. Okay, Jim Abdallah,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Emily Reinhardt.
Yes.
Tom Cosgrove,
Yes.
Carly Leary.
Yes.
We can follow up outside of this meeting to ensure that you have come forward meeting.
Okay.
Or we should go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Second application for tonight is planning board application 25-04. Again, a historic site review, 116 Court Street roof repairs, 2025. We have a brief presentation and then
Yeah, that's not me.
That's
I'm
not
here
you.
for a Parking violation.
Oh. Right.
Eyes and ask him to introduce himself. So You're not in the right place.
I'm not,
No.
am I?
No.
Did you not have a permit? Were you just,
No,
Oh, you're
Then
trying
I'm
to pay
fine.
to the county court?
it says go to Chamberlain office.
no, you would normally would pay, if you were just coming in to pay, you normally would pay at the finance office. Downstairs, it's $15. If some people get tickets mistakenly, they have a permit and it just hasn't been updated in the system, or they might have entered in the information from the license plate wrong. If any of that applies to you, or you just didn't have a permit, or you didn't pay at the kiosk and you got a ticket
I
and,
didn't get the kiosk.
and so you needed to pay. Yeah, so that you have to do between the hours of 8 and 4.
Yeah.
If you felt there was a reason you shouldn't have gotten the ticket, then there is an appeal form that you can get online, or I could provide to you that you would have to file at the police department, parking
Okay.
enforcement office. But if it's straight up, you didn't pay for the parking and you got a ticket, then you have to pay the $15 fine. And that would be down one level in the finance office when you come in these doors.
And I can't do that today.
I can't, the office is closed at 4, sorry. I don't know if they, I don't think they have an option to pay online either. Okay,
It says they do.
they do, oh,
Figured I'd join in person.
yeah. So 8 to 4 in person, or you can do it online.
Gotcha.
Okay, there are,
Right on.
and where was it? The beach or in one of the city?
Isn't, it's at the beach.
Okay, are you a city resident?
Yeah.
You
Okay,
get free parking.
I can get you
At
a
the
beach
beach.
pass for the season. I can't now because we're in a meeting, but if you wanted to come see me tomorrow, if you're a city resident, we just enter in your information in the system, your license plate, and prove that you reside in the city. And a beach permit's free for you for the whole season.
Alright.
Do you want me to give you my phone number for tomorrow?
Sure. If I decide to pay online, that all day. You know?
Yeah, you could do that at
Oh,
any
yeah,
time.
yeah, that would be any time, yeah. Okay, I'm up one flight of stairs, the very top floor on the Trinity Park side. This goes directly to my phone. So yeah, your city residents get the permits free, but you just do have to do it online and it all goes to your.
Don't pay it until you get the permit, because then you can tell your appeal board you didn't know about the permit.
Then would I have to come in for like anything after that, or if I just get online, if I get it done and over
So you
with?
probably could pay online, get it done.
Let's do that.
For the.
Yeah.
It's
$15.
Yeah, so that, yeah, that'll take care of,
No.
that'll take
On
care of
camera,
that ticket.
riveted.
Because they're not gonna void it if you didn't have your permit back. But we
Yeah,
can
no,
get
it's
that
not
permit done for you
It's-
tomorrow.
Well, just send me that, but it's easy.
Yeah, and then you won't have to.
Yeah, you had to listen to us talk about roof replacements.
It's kind of interesting.
Get involved in city government. Or-
Alright, well, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Pace.
So, are we back online?
I never paused.
Oh, okay, so we're still online.
Yeah.
So planning board application 25-04, is there anybody online?
Nope.
Wow, I'm surprised she's on here.
Okay, so in that case, we have no one online, we do not have an applicant here. As we talked in the pre-meeting, the board in the past has insisted upon an applicant being represented by themselves or representative. So with the 116 Court Street, since no one is here, need to make a decision on that. And again, could be the same, similar to the last application, and applicant's not here, application is incomplete without further information.
Is that considered tabled or that postponed?
I would consider it postponed as,
Postponed again, yeah.
again, incomplete due to, we've not had the opportunity to hear presentation or, finalize any other information with the application.
I'll make the motion to postpone 20, what is it?
Five.
25-04 due to an incomplete application because they're not here. No representative.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second
Roll call. Jim Abdallah,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Emily Reinhardt.
Yes.
Tom Cosgrove,
Yes.
Carly Leary.
Yes.
Thank you. So that generally concludes the two applications we had on the agenda tonight. We did not get to talk about other information, but I did have one item, which I think now we've had a couple months with city email. Which, thank you for helping to facilitate. I don't know, has everybody had the opportunity to?
I have, yeah.
Okay,
I need help with that, so.
okay.
I came in early to talk about it.
Once you get it set up, and if you have like a smartphone. Like seeing your email is actually pretty easy with the city's Gmail.
He said he has an iPhone 16. I thought maybe one of you guys could help him set it up.
Yeah. Okay, so we got that. Any other? Yes, business.
We do have a full app meeting scheduled for tomorrow night for the zoning update process. So, the public is welcome to sit in and watch the virtual meeting that isn't allowed to engage. And we're getting really, really close to having a full draft of the zoning update. But it all will remain to be seen exactly when that comes together.
Do you have an idea of the general summary of topics for tomorrow's meeting?
That, I don't have them all on the top of my list, but it was sent out in an email. And I did forward that email to your city email, because I noticed that it didn't go to those with city emails. Your Gmail is listed on it. And actually, I've got notes that I have. Right. So we're gonna be looking at, the completed vignettes for the various zone districts, and then there was another, concept sketch that was created for the G Street properties. I think we'll be reviewing that. Potentially, the subdivision section, I think, is included. Standards for, I think the standards for the J Street properties, because that's being proposed as an overlay.
Were the stormwater management guidelines also included in that?
I
tomorrow?
wasn't expecting them to, and the email that Matt Rogers sent out came through today, so I didn't study it. I wasn't expecting that they were gonna be ready yet, because we just essentially met on those.
Yep.
He talked about, I think revisions to the gateway boundary, so he was gonna try and have the GIS, the mapping revisions completed for the slight boundary shifts. Go through those. And then the administrative section. He was going to try to have that finalized to present tomorrow today.
For review tomorrow.
Mhm.
So, I mean, with the administrative section alone. People on the board have time. Interesting to hear where that planning is going.
Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
that's.
And we will hold a public meeting once we do get a full draft and have a chance to sit through it.
Do you have a link that you can reshare with the board?
Cause that starts at,
It's,
on YouTube?
It's on, yep,
Okay.
it's by Zoom, actually.
Okay.
So it's in webinar format.
Okay.
so similar to how these meetings are structured. Um. And if you've signed up for, the city event notifications, you'll get pinged for this.
What time?
And then it starts at 5. And then if you go out to the city website, it's on the bottom right-hand side of the homepage and the list of, regular recurring meetings or events.
Good.
Um,
Any other items?
nothing from my area really. We've got, CDO has some projects that are moving forward. The city dunes beach restoration is gonna have a kickoff meeting. A contractor was assigned to do a feasibility study for Sailors Beach. That's pretty exciting. CDO is underway with all of its recreation calendar for the summer season, so. They've been really busy and they just had their first person live event. That was a huge success at Fox Hill Park.
Everybody was there.
And I saw you. I didn't get a chance to talk to you.
I was chasing 2 small
Yeah.
children.
There was a lot of energy, but
Oh, yeah.
it looks like everybody was enjoying. it.
Perfect
It's
weather.
a great day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I was there wearing my climate task force chair hat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so, what else? A lot of my projects, I'm working to close out climate action planning grant. The project has been completed for a bit, but we needed a grant extension and now it's just the final reporting and reimbursement request. So a lot of work back end, but none of the real fun work.
None of the stuff you get patted on the back for.
Yeah,
Boring stuff.
and then I've gotta, put out a revised resolution for the Saranac River Trail. Saranac River Phase 3 Trail, to move forward into final design. So, and then after final design, it would be bid out for construction, hopefully go to construction in 2026.
Remind me where phase 3 is? Is that the part that's through the college?
No, that's phase 1.
Okay,
Phase 2 connects across the 2 pedestrian
Okay.
bridges.
yep,
And
So
then
it's-
phase 3 picks up where Riverwalk
right, okay,
ends and then runs down Bridge,
okay.
to Green around to Peace Point Park.
Got it.
Yeah. I've been busy otherwise. A lot of different things.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, there is a DWSP2 project that's underway. Drinking
is
water
that?
supply,
Do what, like,
DWSP2, drinking water
Source
supply-
protection.
Source protection program, thank you. And we're probably, I would say we're about halfway through the planning process. Modeling has been completed. Goal setting has been ongoing, and revising the goals and stakeholders involved and honing in on the protection area. And that's ongoing, but I'm not leading that. I'm a participant in it.
Who's leading that?
So I always get confused on the organization.
Nui Pick?
What was it?
Nui Pick?
Yes,
I'm working on that with the health department.
okay, in the background,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, cause Quinn is one of the, regular participants.
yeah.
But so that, because all of our drinking water supply is in the town of Plattsburgh, we don't have direct control over the protection. So we're we're working on creating a plan to identify the resources and potential threats and ways to ensure protection through time, and then education and outreach opportunities, so everybody understands where their drinking water comes from and what the supplies look like.
It's all the same area for both the city and the town.
It's close.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any other questions?
I'm concerned why that applicant didn't show up.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Do
have
you,
to
do you,
find-
I believe I remembered she responded, thank you, or something in the email. I
Yes.
sent it to, didn't she?
I thought so.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to follow up.
Because I
with
know
her.
they're really pushing to get this done and
Do we know if they completed it too? By any chance? They,
I
yeah,
don't,
there's
not that I know.
there's about, you know, having their insurance removed if they don't get this done fast enough, so
Did make that.
that's enough incentive, but. All right,
I'm not aware that they started anything, but I just know that they were really wanting to get it done, so I'm
Sure.
shocked that I'm here, but I do believe.
Yeah.
When I sent the-
They dropped off the packets with you.
Right away, yeah, and then I sent the links to the folders and I believe they responded. And that was just last week saying, yeah, we'll see you then. So I'm not sure what happened there,
Maybe
but
they.
somebody's gonna be
I was just
upset.
gonna say, there was
Same
the
thing,
day to
yeah.
forget.
Right, today.
Yeah,
Right.
they're not gonna be happy when they remember because it's.
Well,
Do you want these back since we're gonna be looking at both of these again?
Great idea. Yeah. Thank you, Vivian.
I would hold on to it, but I would
Yeah.
lose it.
already marked mine
If
up.
you
so I'm
make
gonna take
notes-
it. Yeah, I already marked mine up.
Your
I'm just
names.
gonna- I'm just gonna-
Oh, there's.
Yeah, that's a lot of paper. Sometimes you guys don't even really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alright.
Jim, did you want to adjourn the meeting?
what's that?
Did you want to adjourn?
Yeah, the motion to adjourn,
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Early there.
Thank you.